Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Just Another Talk. I know it's been some time since I've uploaded something, and I do have a video that I'm currently working on to explain why I was gone for so long. But in the meantime, I got a spicy topic that I actually just drove across, really, is what happened. I was driving and I saw a protest, and I stopped. And so this is what happened.
So we're here at the Brown University Gaza Solidarity Encampment. We're proud to be joining a national movement in line with students at so many other campuses, demanding that we hold our institutions accountable for their complicity in genocide and in the current occupation of Palestine. And so we're demanding that our university divest its endowment from companies that have supported this terrible bloodshed over the past 6 months. And we've been here for this day number 6, and we're here to help round that back.
Do you think it's working?
Yeah, so we've actually just forced the university into negotiations today, and the administration have said that we can propose our divestment to the Board of Corporation, which is our highest governing body of the institution, at the meeting in May in 3 weeks. So we're really clearly putting pressure on the administration, and they're beginning to heed our demands, and I think it's very clear that we represent the majority of students, we represent a really broad swath of our community, and we're feeling really powerful to be here.
You know, I don't really think that they forced Brown to come to the talk, to the table to talk. I think Brown saw an opportunity to not harm their senior class while also appease the students who are protesting at the moment. Brown has actually arrested students before for protesting. I'm really curious what the protesters think that they are genuinely accomplishing. Now, the video is obviously to talk about that, but in the time that I spent talking to multiple people there, first off, there weren't very many people who wanted to be on camera. I would say 99% of people, basically 99.9% of people said no, but they were more than willing to have a conversation off camera. They just weren't willing to look at everything in totality. So what I mean by that is not just what you want to accomplish or what you want or what you think, but what happens when there's an opposing view or a view that's different from what you're saying, which is some of the concerns that I've heard voiced on these topics, as well as I myself, as a productive member of society, I look over and people are protesting to free Palestine. Of course, I'm going to have my own reservations and ideas about it. So again, finding people to talk on camera was hard. So I appreciate this gentleman. He's actually, if I'm not mistaken, one of the people who set up this chapter, and he didn't really want to go into how that works, but for the most part, they are fighting for free Palestine, which when I asked what does that look like, it's just, well, freedom for Palestinians to be able to live there without getting bombed and, you know, being mistreated and these things, which is thoughtful in a sense. But again, who's going to tell you accomplished it? And when you do accomplish it, what do you do next? Like, you know, there's just these other questions that should be asked, is my idea. Have you seen some of the things that are going on in the other campuses, like, you know, in Texas and UCLA, also USC? And if you have, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so all of this police suppression is really a terrible suppression of free speech. It's a suppression of student voice, and it's really horrifying to watch it happen to our peers at so many other universities. We're no strangers to police activity here to shut down protests on Brown University's campus. I was one of 61 students arrested last semester doing sit-ins demanding divestment, and our administration really showed no hesitation in bringing a police force to campus. So we're no strangers, and we are really ashamed of our institution and of all of these other universities calling in the police to shut down student protests. We think it's a violation of the First Amendment and our right to free speech, and we think that this is really, that all of these discussions of free speech have to center Palestine at the very center of all of this, and that these students are very clear in their demands, and we're making movement towards holding our institutions accountable, and our institutions are afraid of that power and trying to shut us down.
See, I think he makes a point about the institutions being afraid of the 99% power, right? Because as if we all come together, the group beats the 1%, and that's understandable. But he's intertwining it with the fact that, hey, they're suppressing our freedom of speech and our First Amendment right, and you need a permit, and you have to be peaceful as well, which is, I think, another thing that that gives them credence. At least at Brown universities, none of the students have become violent. In other protests like USC, the students not only became violent, but they were stepping in the way of other students who were trying to get to class, trying to get to where they need to go. Not only did you have that, but you also had UCLA and Texas as well. Columbia University in New York City actually had students barricade themselves within the building. So I think those actions, if met with force, are essentially granted, because what you're doing is you're causing an issue that you may not see it right now, but you're causing an issue for people who are just trying to live their regular everyday lives. Which leads me to my next point, which is I understand that they're protesting for something they truly believe in, that is an injustice, and I'm all for that. What I'm not for is protesting for an injustice while getting in the way of everyday Americans, people, average day people who are just trying to get to work and trying to go to where they need to do, trying to make ends meet. You speak about the community coming together and working on this, and making the situation better, but you are acting irresponsibly in said community. Now, Brown University is a little bit of an outlier because they're not violent, they have not gotten in the way, they've not caused any issues, at least that have been reported or that I've seen whenever I've been to any of these protests or when I've driven by. That changes. I think Brown University involves the police immediately, and you guys will be arrested, and the hoopla. This is a multi-sided subject, and the other side of this is that in all protests, sooner or later, both sides come to a line where it's who's gonna blink first. And by blinking, that might mean who on the protester side does something egregious, or who on the police side is like, okay, enough is enough. All protests, when in the matter that it's being conducted like this one, again, leaving Brown University out, just speaking about the locations that have been violent, which is pretty much basically anywhere else where I've heard protests, there's been issues where police have had to been called. So whenever you have an issue like this, you will later have bigger problems and violent problems and bloodshed, because protests come to a line of who's going to blink first. One specific question I have about USC is they canceled their graduations for their seniors. How would that make you feel if Brown went along that route? And does it make you feel like they're trying to pin you against your fellow students?
Yeah, we have a lot of seniors in our camp, and they're all really proud to be here, and I think it's really a clear escalation on behalf of the administration against the student body at large. This is overwhelmingly popular. We've had referendum passed by the entire undergraduate student body, overwhelmingly with about 70% of students supporting divestment from these companies, and furthermore, we've had consistent polling this year that shows that 70% remain in favor of this divestment. And we're here with many representatives of a recently elected student government, including myself, who are here to, we ran on divestment, and we're here to represent that on behalf of the whole student body. So I think we're quite confident that we're really speaking for the student body against the administration, which has let this complicity go on for too long. I think it's really horrifying what USC is willing to do, that it's ruining its own student's life in order to defend its complicity in genocide, and that this really has to be pinned against the administration of USC, which is taking out in defense of its violence abroad through its endowment, it's actually taking out that punishment against its students on campus. And so this is really about a united student and community and beyond fight against our administration and against so many other institutions which are complicit in this genocide.
The idea that somehow USC is complicit as well as Brown in the genocide, I think is a reach for me. Like that's way too far. Like, you know, you can't like I don't like what you have Brown University associated with Lockheed Martin maybe or Boeing or some of these government contractors. Like Brown University is a prestigious Ivy League school. You're gonna have people who have been to Brown and have then moved on to an industry that is, intersects with the government. A lot of thinkers go to Brown universities as well as artists, and they have a decent basketball team. They have decent teams overall. I just know the basketball team, so don't kill me, guys. I'm just saying. But regardless, like the portion where he says, "Oh, I'm really." It's amazing how USC is willing to ruin their students' lives. It's like, well, USC didn't choose to protest, and then protest in the way that people were protesting, right? Where they have their whole face covered, they're blocking people from going in. They're disrupting regular everyday people. How do you expect for them to be dealt with? And there's no place in life that you can go to where you can protest a company or a business, right? Because college is a business, regardless of what you call it. They have a bottom line. They need to operate in a positive. I don't know anywhere in regular life where you can go and disrupt that activity and not be penalized for that. Especially as an adult. Oh, no. There's nowhere you can go and do that. So again, it leads me to the point where all protests come to this place where you have to decide, okay, are we protesting and now we're just gonna go home and chill and turn on the lights in our cozy dorms or apartments, right? And use the oven and all the water you want and this and that, right? And that's it? Or are you really willing to risk the freedoms that were afforded to you because you were born in this country for a cause you truly believe in? That's a line. And I think people at USC, I think people at UCLA, I think people, at Texas, and especially at Columbia, they reached that line. Even though in Columbia, I will say the mayor did come out and say that there were people there that weren't from Columbia. They weren't going there. They had no ties to the university. So that's also interesting, which could even lead me down a further rabbit hole, which I'm not a rabbit hole kind of person, but this situation is like, okay, if those people did that, they weren't tied to Columbia, had no one going to Columbia, just came to protest, and then locked themselves inside of one of the halls and barricaded the door to the tune that the SWAT had to go to the second floor, right? Why would you do that? What adult in this time can afford to do something like that? Because it clearly wasn't a kid. It had to be adults, other adults, right? They arrested them. So I'm curious where they're coming from. And another thing that they did get into was they have supplies that they're receiving. Who's paying for the supplies? Is it all donations? Is it all free? Right? Is anyone getting paid for demonstrating or any of these things? Because I've heard that before. I don't know in this case, so I'm just speculating. But still, if that's a possibility or if that is going on, then who's paying? And why are they paying? Why are they trying to sow dissent? Because that's really where you're getting. You're getting in the way of average, everyday Americans. They're going to get pissed off. Someone's going to get hurt. What happens? You know who has to intervene then is the police. And you know how they like to intervene. We're seeing examples right now. So where does this go? Where are we really trying to go with this protest, right? How can the student body justify complaining or protesting about Gaza, but we have things here in the States that are wrong, and people don't complain or don't protest for that? How do you see that? Do you see a difference? And maybe how do we make this situation better overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see these struggles as intertwined. The mutual solidarity and building this movement is not just it's a global movement, and here there are activists from so many organizations on campus and in the broader community that work towards so many.
The struggles just can't be intertwined. There's too many things that separate the struggles. One, two, you're not living the struggle. This is not a struggle. Choosing to protest and sleep outside is not a struggle. I want to understand, but I so don't understand because you can lock onto so many other things that you could either protest about or even come together and create solutions to solve the issues in our own communities that would not only bolster all your organizations and the things that you guys want to achieve as far as helping people overall, but also it would help your immediate community. Like, I have a turkey drive that I do that I started. Like that's not hard to do. You just start it and then keep it going. I seriously can't sit here and accept that answer. To me, it's just too much. It's not like the struggle, the Palestine struggle, and your struggle are not intertwined. Overall, this protest is not intertwined with the struggles that people have here in the States. Lives are two completely different things. System is completely different. And if we really want to fight some shit, like, let's fight the potholes. Like, these potholes are on my car like every other day. Come on, like, we got potholes, we got vagrants, aka homeless people as well. Well, vagrants are the deviant version, right? But regardless, you got homeless people, you got a generation of kids growing up without dads, and you got all this craziness going on. But we want to focus on Palestine again. Not those people. Do I feel bad for them? Do I hurt for them? Can we help them somehow? I'm pretty sure we can. But should we not help ourselves first? Because I can point out a lot of things that are up right around here that you guys could protest about.
I think we see these struggles as intertwined. The mutual solidarity and building this movement is not just it's a global movement, and here there are activists from so many organizations on campus and in the broader community that work towards so many ends, and that this is bringing in housing justice activists who work really mostly primarily in Providence, Rhode Island, and this is bringing in environmental activists who are focused, they're understanding what is wrong in Palestine, and they're advocating for clean, just transition here. But these are united issues, and that this is something that, in fact, pushing for divestment from our university means that the student body can hold our administration accountable for what we believe is right, and that we're hoping that there's a much broader democratization and definancialization of our institution that it really goes so far, that this encapsulates so many issues. And, just to make that very concrete, like, we've had so many food donations to run our encampment that, in fact, we have surplus, and we've been donating it to organizations that redistribute it to the homeless population in downtown Providence. And we see this as very much interlinked struggles and not mutually exclusive.
You're donating the surplus food. Are you paying a tuition to go eat at the mess hall? Like, I'm confused. I'm confused, okay? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Tell me in the comments.
We were looking for this because this is an immediate crisis now. There's a genocide currently in Gaza, and every day so many Palestinians die, and that's why this must be the issue of the moment. But this is not, we're so ready for, this is a movement for a much broader, more just society, and that's why we're all here, and that's why we're standing up, and so I think it's impossible to separate justice for the people of Palestine from justice for people across the United States, and we're really proud to stand for all of that together as an intersectional show.
Providence is literally what? Well, I should say the certain sections of Providence that are, quote unquote trouble are not too far from that area. 3-4 miles, maybe max 5-6 miles, depending on what part of Providence we're talking about. That they could use activists helping them to get things accomplished. I just went in there because I saw the crowd, I saw the signs. All right, let me ask some questions. And while asking questions, that led me to more questions that then weren't answered. And then I was met with, more of, more of this right here. I mean, I don't have to tell you. I could just show you with the video that I'm like, what are we talking about? What are we really, really talking about? Because I don't have to go to college to see that, or to know that if my house is on fire and my neighbor's house is on fire, I'm putting out my house first. Then I'm gonna go help the neighbor. Then I'm gonna go help pull out the neighbor's family. But I'm pulling out my family and I'm putting out the fire at my house first. You know what to do. Subscribe. Click that button. I hate telling you what to do. Just do it, all right?